Hi guys.
Hi.
Welcome to another video. In this video today, we're gonna go through some of the quotes that Ann and I really like and that we like to live by. So we're just gonna go through, I'm gonna say a couple, she's gonna say a couple, and then there's some of them that we, just value together that we'll go through as well.
And as we discussed them, we realized those are also kind of like the principles that we try to live by. So we wanted to share some of them with you.
So my first quote that I'm going to do is a rather new one that I heard recently. And the quote is, "Never attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence." And I'm going to read from here where this actually comes from, because where I heard it was I was listening to a interview on Instagram, and this is something that the person being interviewed actually said. But where this quote comes from is a line from Hanlon's razor, and that's a mental model that suggests some bad things happen because people didn't think them through properly, not because they had the bad intentions. And then actually in this mental model, the real quote is, "Never attribute to malice what can adequately be explained by stupidity." I think that's a little bit rough, so I like using the word incompetence as opposed to stupidity. But I think that this quote, it really resonated with me because it really helps to view the world and people's actions differently. Instead of thinking that, if something bad happens because of someone's action, rather thinking that they're doing it intentionally and they're doing it with malice, with, the intent to cause harm to you or to someone else. It's just better for your own well-being to think that it's just their own incompetence, that they just aren't doing it with bad intention. And that really sits well with me, because as human beings, and I do this, this is a really big focus for me, is I'm trying to lean more into being more trusting in people and thinking that they're not doing things with bad or ill intent. So just leaning into thinking that they're just not thinking things through, or they're just incompetent, really helps with just, depersonalizing what they're doing, and just better for well-being in general.
I agree. And then I think we all have dealt with people who we're doing something by accident, right? And then sometimes it's not even incompetence, because yes, it can sound also a little harsh, but we've all dealt with people that we didn't mean to hurt. We didn't mean to do anything to harm them. It just like happened, or like we weren't careful enough. And then that person would think that we're doing it out of malicious intent, and that's never a good situation to be in, and that ultimately really creates a lot of tension for the relationship. And one of the quotes I actually remember this brings up for me is that love is being generous with interpretation. So I think like the quote that Jonathan just said, and helps you in life, but also it really helps you in a romantic partnership or with your family or at work. Just being loving towards people, giving them the benefit of the doubt that they don't mean it.
Yeah, benefit of the doubt is what you're expressing.
Sometimes it's incompetence, sometimes they just don't have the intention, and that really takes out a lot of aggression and hostility people sometimes bring into a relationship, whether it is work relationship or romantic relationship. It just makes you more open and relaxed in life in a good way, like open to people, open to love, receptive to love, and more giving. And you ultimately will attract more back when you live that way. This is like my favorite quote that I live by, and I know that Jonathan also loves it. It is, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Whenever anybody asks me what is my favorite quote, that is the one that comes up in my mind, because sometimes people go in life like, oh, they're treating me like this, so I'm gonna do this. So, or, oh, well, I'm going into this situation and everybody's acting this way, so I'm also going to act like not as I want, right? But I truly believe in this quote, because you gotta be the first. You gotta be the change, right? Whatever you are feeling lacking in the world, whatever you're feeling lacking in the relationship, whatever you feel is lacking in the work environment, have that courage, have that responsibility, be that person who treats others the way you want to be treated, who creates this change in the workplace. And doesn't mean like, oh, a whole makeover, right? But if you want more kindness, treat people with kindness. If you want more love, treat people with love. If you want more fairness, or you feel like life is so unfair, treat people with more generosity, more fairness. And it all starts with one person, because don't we all go through life sometimes, and then there's that person that treats you the way, like, oh my gosh, I always hoped to be treated this way, I always wished that somebody like that existed, right? So why can't we be that person? So for me, this quote is an invitation to be the way I want to be in the world, be the way I wanted to be treated, and it's also an invitation to take responsibility for my environment and for my life, instead of blaming all the time, you know?
Yeah, that's really good. That quote actually really resonates with me. That's one of the quotes that I remember learning when I was young that has stuck with me. Like that quote I heard for the first time when I was in 8th grade, and that was like the first touch of that type of like self-reflection that I ever experienced. And that's a quote from Gandhi, actually. And when you started in the beginning, it was funny, you said, you were mentioning, you know, to be the change, and then you're saying, giving examples of like, oh, because this person did that, well, I'm going to do this back. And that made me think of another quote from Gandhi that is, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. So it's, you know, like tit for tat, like, you know, if you did something bad to me, then I'm going to do something equal or worse to you. But that's like, you know, that's just not healthy, and being the change is where you can make that difference. So they kind of all circle back into one another. But,
I think we sometimes forget that we all can actually change the world. It's true, even sometimes when you think like, oh, it's just me, it's just one person, but we underestimate what an impact one person can make, because it's domino effect, like, right? Like we are all an average of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with, and we each affect one another, and that is like a domino effect. And then our impact is beyond what we can see. So for example, if I do something that changes and shifts Jonathan in a certain way, he can also impact his colleagues at work that I don't really see every day. And then his colleagues at work impact their spouses, and then their spouses their work, and that's more and more and more. And then it's just like, it's so great to know that it's not hopeless. We have that power to make a positive impact.
Yeah, your influence is powerful, and your actions and your words carry weight, and they mean something. So if you're doing and acting positively with the intention to benefit others, then that's gonna, you know, show.
Yes.
So this one is a quote by George Bernard Shaw, and it is 2 things that define you. There is your patience when you have nothing, and your attitude when you have everything. So I think this quote is very important with just being humble with who you are, no matter what situation you are in, you know, being patient while you're planting the seeds for your future, you know, whether, you know, you're going to school, or you're building a business, or you're putting in the work to, you know, better yourself, you know, self-improvement, whatever it is just being patient while you don't have that foundation yet. And as that grows into something new, and as you get everything, you know, you get the new job, you know, you become very fit and healthy, you know, you're making good money, you start a business, whatever it is, it's being humble and grounded, and realizing that you still are just a person, and you aren't better than anyone else. You know, we're all just equal no matter what we have. And this quote reminds me, I'm not sure, I think I've taught you this before, or, you know, shared this, is there was a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius, and he is like, he's known as like the model for the golden era of Rome. Like, the government was in a really good place, Rome was thriving during his ruling, and all of the, you know, the citizens praised him as the emperor. So when he would walk through the square, he had this assistant that would follow him, and anytime someone would come up to him and give him praise, or, you know, say these very, very kind things to him, his assistant would lean forward into his ear and whisper to him, "You are just a man." And this is just a reminder to him to be humble. Even though he's the emperor and he's a great ruler, he is still just a man. He's not better than any of the people that he's ruling over. So I think that that's very important to remember, and keep that, you know, humility and be humble.
Yeah. This one for me is, what you focus on expands. You know, sometimes we can go through our daily life just focusing on the negative, right? Complaining to our partners, like, oh, my boss treated me this way. Oh, you can't believe this. And then I woke up and I didn't get enough sleep. But ultimately, what you focus on expands, meaning the more grateful you feel for something, the more you focus on the positive things in your life, the more you focus on the beautiful things that your partners does for you, the more you attract it. So imagine a scenario, let's say a relationship, right? If I continuously just praise Jonathan, and it has to be genuine, of course, for the things that he does for me, he will be more motivated to do even more nice things for me.
It's a positive feedback loop.
You will feel like, you even tell me, right? Like when I express appreciation for him, instead of taking it for granted, like, oh, being on the phone while he brings me coffee, or like, and just like, you know, not be grateful, and then he will slowly feel like not as motivated, and it won't be even intentional. It will just be somewhere like in subconscious, like. But if I say, like, I stop myself and I'm so thank you, and I, like, at the end of the night I bring it up again and I say, I'm so grateful today you did X, Y, and Z for me, it made me feel really loved, it made me feel really seen, and like he will feel like all these fuzzy feelings, and he will ultimately, in the back of his mind, he will think like, oh, what other things can I do to make Anne smile tomorrow, right? What other things can I make her can I do to make her happy? And that is ultimately like the key, like the golden rule to this quote, because it's like the secret, right? If you've heard, the more you focus on the good things in your life, the more gratitude you express, the more you attract it into your life. And the more you complain, the more you focus on the negativity, the more you focus on, like, the more you gossip, the more you will attract gossip, negativity, bad things to complain about in your life. And that's what this quote is about. And this is something that I always invite my clients that I coach to focus on as well, because our brain just has this negativity bias, meaning we will just automatically always focus on the negative just for survival purposes, but it doesn't really help to be happier, right? So I always like try to invite people and the people I coach to see the good in their life, to focus on the positive, and that has to be very intentional. So that's why this is one of the quotes that I really love and I try to live by.
Yeah, and you actually taught me that, and we read through the Secret book together. It's a great book if you haven't ever heard of it, but it just, you know, focuses on keeping those positive thoughts to get more positive things into your life. Just
to honestly feel better in your life. And that's one of the things that we do gratitude practice together. Every night when we take a walk or before we fall asleep, we talk to each other and we say, like, you ask each other, what are we grateful for? And then we go through the things that we felt gratitude for in that day. And when I was single, I would do that in my journal, and I write out before I go to bed, like, the 5 things that I'm grateful for today, and I would go into details, and that made me feel like, that helped me focus on the good things in my day, instead of like, oh, I didn't get everything I wanted to get done today, oh, like this person did this today, you know. So
yeah, the gratitude practice is a great practice. Just to expand on that, you know, if you have a partner, it's great just to do in the evenings, you know, after dinner, before bed. But you know, if it's just you and you're not used to journaling, you could also do gratitude text messages where, you know, you just text a family member or a friend and say, hey, you know, I really value you. And then that's just getting those gratitudes out there.
Yeah.
The next quote that I have is, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. And ultimately, I learned this quote from Kung Fu Panda. But when I looked it up to see where it originally came from, it was kind of conflicting stuff. It said Eleanor Roosevelt had said it, but then there was actually no proof. So I don't really know who said it, so I'm just going to keep that it was Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda as the original person of this quote.
That works.
But this quote, I really value this quote, and it's such a deep, powerful meaning with such simple words. You know, the human condition is to think about the future. So tomorrow is a mystery ultimately. So if we're thinking about the future, we're causing ourselves anxiety because we don't know what's going to happen. And then we suffer through the experiences that we're predicting are going to happen, which most likely aren't. If you truly sit back and think about it, how many of the bad things that you thought were going to happen in the future actually came true? I think that, you know, most of the time we can say, you know, maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 100 even. So not living in the future reduces your anxiety. And then yesterday is history. is, you know, thinking about the past, it ends up causing you to be depressed because you're either thinking about good things that have happened to you in the past that are no longer there and happening, or you're thinking about bad things and then it's making you feel bad because you're thinking about bad things. So ultimately, those two things combined is bringing you to the present moment. And the present moment is a gift. I know it's a play on words, present and gift, but it truly is, because this is the only moment that you will ever have if you think about it. If you're truly present with yourself and present with your experience, this is it. Mm-hmm. And living in the moment reduces your depression and anxiety. So just be there, be present with the experience, and you will feel better. And it's easier said than done, but meditation helps, and you know, any type of spiritual practice, just keeping you centered and aware of what is happening. Mm-hmm. So it just sits really well with me.
Being present is definitely one of the center of our spiritual practices, just always being in the present moment, because life unfolds in chain of present moments. If you think about it, you're never really, like, you're not experiencing the future per se. The future will also be in the present moment, and your past is also a fiction, like in your mind, right? Because you experience the past days. Also, it was in the present moment. I know this is a very esoteric conversation, but just being present is huge. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Okay, next, baby.
Next quote is from a friend. Like, I read it before, but when a friend told me, it just like really clicked, and I think it's attributed to Alan Watts. But the friend said it when the friend said it to me, it was, "You are the universe expressing itself and experiencing itself." And my mind was blown, you guys, even though, again, I heard it before, I read it before, but it's such a great reminder. And it's just, to me personally, it frees me, because we can be so, like, we can be so wrapped up in our lives and take our lives and our self-image and every decision so seriously that we forget that we are just experiencing this life as a soul. Like, we are the universe experiencing itself. So it makes me feel more courageous and carefree, and invites me to be bolder and not be so afraid of making every decision, which I suffer from indecision. So it makes me feel just like, oh, then it's fine to be out there, to make mistakes, to fail, to like be bold, to make decisions, to express myself, and just to step into my full power and expression. And it just alleviates this fear of failure for me, and the fear of looking foolish, or the fear of judgment. And I love this quote because it reminds me it's not that big of a deal, you know, it's all just experiences, and you are here ultimately to experience life.
You said it very well. I don't have anything to add to that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I got my last quote that I'm going to share, and this is a newer one that I've heard over the last couple years, and it came from The Last of Us TV series. So the character Maria actually said this from the show. And it is, "Be careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust." And ultimately, to me, this quote just means, be careful where you're giving your energy. You know, you don't want to expose yourself, or, you know, like, let people in who are going to harm you. Whether it's their intent, like we were talking about malice, whether they're intentionally causing harm, or, you know, using something that you've shared with them in confidence against you. So just protecting your energy and making sure that, you know, only people that are truly going to protect you and benefit, like, your safety, you're letting in deep and personal.
My next one is kind of like a group of quotes, because they all reflect very similar concept, and it is, "To every action there is an equal and opposite reaction." To me, that's just ultimately the law of karma, right? Like, it's like, that's why it's also treat others the way you want to be treated, because the way you treat others is going to come back to you. And then give and you shall receive. It's a very similar concept. Whatever you do, you put out there, it's going to come back to you.
That's just physics too.
Yes, that's, some people just still, like, it's wild to me how, like, people still don't understand it, and they, like, there's a whole conversation, is karma true or not? It's just, it's physics, like you said. if you want to receive more love, give love. If you want to receive more money, give money, but with good energy and good attitude, generosity, right? And however you want to be treated, whatever you want to experience in life, just be that, embody that, give that, and you will receive more of that. And just, you know, it's a reminder to treat others the way you want to be treated, and not just in concept, because I think sometimes, very often, people say that and they think they're doing that, but sit with yourself honestly. Like, am I acting in a way that I value? Am I acting in a way that I believe I want to act? Am I acting in alignment with my values? And that is for each of one of us to sit with ourselves, to reflect on that, and to readjust if we're not. There's no right or wrong. Just if these are your certain values, just embody that, and then you will attract back. So if you're in a position in your life where you feel so frustrated, something is going wrong, or one after another person is lying to you or betraying you, or something is like not clicking, like, look back at yourself. Like, how are you contributing to the situation? And instead of, not in a way that beats yourself up, but in a way that you can take responsibility for your own life and give yourself power to change things, so you can see change in your life.
Yeah, I really like that. It makes me think of, my therapist was actually talking about this, and I think we've talked about this too, is that if something is going wrong, or someone's acting a certain way, like you're saying, someone's treating you a certain way, you can't control their actions. You have to look inward and say, what can I be doing differently so this doesn't happen? Whether it's being more choosy with the people that you're spending your time with, or, you know, just treating that person differently, you know, just what can you be doing differently so this doesn't happen anymore? Because then that takes responsibility, and you can, you know, navigate, you know, what is best for you in this moment, or this situation.
Yes, but in a way that is not abusive to yourself and not beating yourself up. I will reiterate that. So instead of like, what's wrong with me? Something must be wrong with me. That's why men cheat on me, right? Like, you look and like, how have I contributed to the situation? Like, what have I been tolerating? What type of men have I been choosing and trusting? Stuff like that, instead of like making it that something is wrong with you. Or if you need guidance today, click the link below this video, and I'm happy to offer you a 30-minute free consultation call to see if my coaching will benefit you. I have helped countless of clients before in their relationships and in their private life. I am super passionate at helping people navigate personal relationships because I've been there. I know how hard it can be to be in a position where you don't know what to do, where you're not treated well. I'm here for you. I see you. I got you.
Thank you guys for checking out our video today. We love sharing our quotes with you. Hopefully, you know, they resonate with you, and there's some information that you can bring and, you know, expand upon in your own personal life. So, you know, we really appreciate it. We'll be looking forward to sharing another video with you guys pretty soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.